Sup everyone, today we're gonna take a look at the G.I. Joe Classified Series Titan Patrol Crimson Guard action figure. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, or even hit that super thanks button. I appreciate all engagement on my channel. Before we unbox this figure, let's have a quick look at the box. Up front, I do believe we have the same artwork that was from the original Classified Crimson Guard box. There's a Titan Patrol logo over here, and a small snippet render of the figure over here. We go to the top of the box. Cobra logo, and he's numbered 66. Down to the bottom, some product information, and of course a notice about the plastic-free packaging. Down to the side, a close-up of that artwork, once again in the colors of his Titan Patrol deco. On the back of the box, we've got a render of the figure in a vanilla pose with his accessories, and him over here holding some of those weapons, and some of his attributes over here, and finally some product information at the bottom of the box. Now we go on to that last side. Once again, a couple of his attributes, and his number 66. So let's go ahead and get this guy open. Out of the box, the figure is held in place by this cardboard insert with the vibrant Cobra logo in the background. And with the plastic-free packaging, we have all of his accessories in this sort of paper box with an ammo box deco. Once more, numbered 66. The deco is red for Cobra. And we have the Titan Crimson Guard nameplate and the password keypad. Getting this box open, his accessories are in a paper baggie. This paper bag is sealed, so it's easy to tear open. And out of the baggie, we have his rifle, ceremonial officer sword, his backpack, dagger, and the sheath for his sword. So first up, I just want to say that the Titan Patrol Crimson Guard is exactly the same sculpt and has exactly the same accessories as the original Classified Series Crimson Guard. But of course, the Titan Patrol Crimson Guard has a new paint deco along with different colored plastics used all over his body sculpt as well as his accessories. First up, we're having a look at his pistol. It is cast in a black plastic. You can see the same detail on the pistol grip as well as down the barrel. And just like the original, this one also has a hole on the muzzle for you to insert other weapon effects. He also comes with a dagger, but this time it is cast in a red plastic with a darker gunmetal gray for the blade instead of the silver on the original. Same details on the knife like the serrated edge on the back. And when we look down at the handle, it's also got a feature with the Cobra fangs. As expected, the new figure also holds his pistol and his dagger just as well as the original figure. You can also slot the dagger on the right side of his belt, as well as his pistol on the holster on his left thigh, just exactly the same way as the original figure. His backpack is exactly the same as well. Once again, also cast in the black plastic with silver paint for the Cobra logo on the middle. Similarly nice sculpting like the paneling down the middle, straps down the sides, a peg on the right side to hold his rifle, a peg that goes into his back, and finally also a hole on the side for the sheath of his sword. Once again, also pegging snugly into that hole on his back, just like the original figure. Next up, we have his carbine rifle. It's also cast in the same black plastic with the same nice details like the texturing down the barrel, the removable magazine, but it also has a couple more painted details like the red for the stock at the back. And when we have a closer look at the bayonet, the original one is painted in a bright silver, while this one has a darker gunmetal gray to match that blade on his dagger. And likewise, we also see the same nice details and paint on the other side of the rifle as well, holding his rifle just as well as the original, and also pegging quite nicely onto his backpack on the side. His ceremonial sword gets the same treatment as the dagger, with red plastic for the hilt as compared to black on the original, and also a darker gunmetal gray paint for the blade compared to silver on the original. Once again, it also retains the same sculpting features with a textured grip and the Cobra fangs at the bottom of the hilt. The sword is designed to be held in either of his hands, and it also slots and fits quite snugly into his black scabbard. This black plastic scabbard is indistinguishable from the original. And likewise, you can peg his scabbard to the side of his backpack or to the side of his belt, which I actually prefer. And I love the way he can store all his weapons just like the original, going hands-free, and that's really kick-ass. What's even better is that I like his more vibrant color scheme, which is achieved with a mix of brightly colored plastics and paints. So the Crimson Guard has a more ceremonial uniform, and you can see from the original, he's got a more muted color scheme with a dark red, silver, black and grays. But on the Python Patrol one, I suppose he's got more emphasis on his special technology, and that's brought up by a really vibrant color scheme, really showing off the novel paintwork on the whole Python Patrol line. There are more colors and it looks brighter, with the yellows, reds, different tones of grays, blacks, silver, and even some metallic reds. We zoom into his head sculpt, and just by having more silver paint, he already feels more like a robot. And that once again is a focus on the special technology that's on show in the Python Patrol. The red for his visor also really shines and is more eye-catching compared to the sleek silver on the original. The black plastic used for his head also feels like it balances off the brighter colors on the rest of his body as well as the front of his helmet. Now we go on to his torso, and this is where this figure really shines. Most of it is cast in the yellow plastic, but a lot of it is also covered in paint. The only thing that's more muted about this torso is the black Cobra logo, and that's overlaid on top of a mid-tone gray that's on the front of his uniform, with a lighter shade of gray for the diamond pattern. Once again, a callback to the snake patterns on Cobra troops. His rank insignia is also really eye-catching, with a bright flat red paint on the silver backing over here, while his insignia badge is painted in a metallic red, and the metallic red is really beautiful and catches the light really well. There's silver paint for the buttons and the border of the front panel of his chest, just like the original. His epaulets are also super eye-catching, with a red base plastic, silver paint for the top, and that's also topped off with more metallic red in that triangle over there. Compared to the really muted deco on the original, his color is also really interesting. Red paint for most of it, and that's embellished by the silver for the lining. On his left arm, instead of the original silver Cobra logo, now we have the Python Patrol logo, and it looks to be printed with quite a high resolution print. Really sharp paintwork, and looks really nice and clean. On the bottom of his sleeve, he's got some red paint over here for the lines, and once again, even more paint with the mid-tone gray at the end of his sleeve. Round the back of the figure, we see that red paint going nicely around the whole back of his collar at the top, and on his right shoulder, instead of the gray accessory he has over here, it is now in a red plastic. Once again, also given that same treatment as his left shoulder with that silver and metallic red paints. So very cool and super eye-catching. His belt is also cast in the same black plastic and sculpt, but instead of the silver V over here, we have it painted in red. And now we move down to his legs, and it's rather more simple, but instead of the red plastic, we have the light gray over here for most of his legs, while his boots have exactly the same sculpt and deco, with black plastic and sharp detailing like the pocket down the side, and we also have a hit of silver paint for the buckles. So like I mentioned earlier, this is a really eye-catching and very cool color scheme and paint deco for a figure. And if you have been collecting the Python Patrol, this one certainly adds more color and variation to those troops. He's got the same articulation as the original with a head on the double ball dumbbell joint so it spins all the way around, also getting some decent sideways tilting, but he doesn't have much range looking down because of how that faceplate hits his collar, and also a little bit of upward tilting. He's got butterfly joints, but the range is quite limited. A swivel hinge at the shoulders for 360 and also going out that far, hitting about 90 degrees. Upper bicep swivel for 360 spin. Double jointed elbows with concealed pins going well beyond 90 degrees. Swivel hinge at the wrist for 360 spin and also hinging downward as well as upward. There's a mid-torso hinge and a ball joint at the waist. The ball joint lets you go and spin him 360, just a little bit of sideways tilting, and that hinge and the ball joint combine to give him pretty impressive forward bend as well as backward bend. Drop down ball joint hips, so they do drop down and get you a very impressive split Also, no problems going forward and backward. Side swivel that gives you outward spin and inward spin. Double hinge knees with the pins also concealed, and head gets you a good range. Swivel at the boot that's also well disguised by how his boot is constructed to his calf. Ankle tilt that goes upward as well as downward, and ankle pivot that goes outward as well as inward. If you have the original classified Crimson Guard, you will know that he is quite well articulated and really fun to pose. And once again, that is further enhanced by that eye-catching and bright color scheme, and also quite a superior paint job with really clean lines. And a head and weapon swap is certainly possible between the two figures. I might even go on to say that the color schemes are quite compatible with the red weapons on the Crimson Guard. And I also really like how that red helmet also looks on the Python Patrol figure. Size-wise, the Python Patrol Crimson Guard stands at just about 6 3/8 of an inch, and that's just over 16 centimeters. I think he looks fantastic with the rest of the Python Patrol troop builders, and I have to compliment Hasbro for ensuring that the color scheme is quite cohesive between all the figures, and this is just so pleasing to have on my shelf. He also looks great with Baroness, Destro, Tomex, and Samet. And he also stands quite tall among the Joes. For comparisons with other lines, here he is with some Marvel Legends and some Star Wars Black series. This figure has surpassed my expectations. I'm already collecting the Python Patrol range, so I was in for this. But this has turned out to be quite an inspired repaint, bringing out the best in playability of the figure with a brilliant paint scheme. If you're already collecting Python Patrol, this is a no-brainer. But even if you're sticking to the core line of Cobra figures, the color compatibility with the regular Crimson Guard actually gives you nice options to kitbash an interesting Crimson Guard variant. Please like and share this video, let me know what you think in the comments below, subscribe to my channel, or even hit the super thanks button. Thanks for watching, take care and stay safe.